You're listening to the Following On daily podcast out here in India. I'm Neil Manthorp, and I'll be joined by double Ashes winner Steve Harmison and former England fast bowler Darren Gough to look back at another eventful day. The second day of the second test between India and England, with 14 wickets falling in Visakhapatnam. India closed on 28 without loss for an overall lead of 171 after England were dismissed for 253 in the first two sessions. Despite a half century from birthday boy Zak Crawley, Jasprit Bumrah was outstanding with a 6-wicket haul, his second best test return. We'll get exclusive reaction from the England camp, as always, and Chetan Narula will discuss the big talking points concerning India. Have they put the rights from Hyderabad in the first test, or put the wrongs right in the second test here in Vizag? So plenty to come over the next 25 minutes or so. You're listening to Following On. Let's start with you, Darren Gough, and let's go chronologically initially through the day's play. 14 wickets fell. It began very well for India. Jimmy Anderson took the second new ball almost immediately when India resumed on 336 for 6. He finished with 3 for 47 as those last 4 wickets were claimed for the addition of just 60 runs. Had it not been for Jasprit Jaiswal and his magnificent 209, it was actually a brilliant innings for Jimmy and for Shoaib Bashir and Rian Ahmed, because the next highest score was just 34 as India made 396.
It's kind of been the story for India, hasn't it, Manners, where Jaiswal went on and did what batters, when they get in, are supposed to do. There's nothing worse than someone getting in and getting out in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. They're greedy players, the best players, go on and get big hundreds, don't they, and get doubles. And Jaiswal, for someone so young to come in and finish on 209 was a fantastic innings. But you've got to go, and this morning, and India will go off and say, yeah, we're happy with 396, but we left 30 out there, realistically. I thought 420 from the position they were in would have been reachable. Jimmy Anderson, though, this morning was absolutely superb. He put the ball on a sixpence, he moved it just enough, he created opportunities and finished with 3 for 47. And it just goes to show, and we said this the last test match, if you're a quality fast bowler, you're a quality fast bowler in all conditions. All conditions. And it's been proven as the day's gone on, right? We could go into Bumrah, but for Jimmy Anderson this morning, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding.
Now, Steve Harmison, India's top order have been profligate and some would say slightly irresponsible, and they've provided a masterclass in not cashing in for the most part. Certainly in Hyderabad, 3 players in the top 6 not getting out in the 80s. That was the first time that happened, and then first time in a Test cricket Test innings that 3, 4, 5, and 6 have all got out between 25 and 35. And in Hyderabad, 5 Indian top order batsmen caught on the boundary. Jasprit Bumrah, however, deserves all the credit, I think, for England being dismissed for 253. And you look at those dismissals of the England players, I think summed up best by Ollie Pope's dismissal when he received an unplayable in-swinging, reverse late in-swinging Yorker from Jasprit Bumrah, which removed 2 of his stumps from the ground. Bumrah has finished with 6 for 45, and I'm framing it as a question. Is it right to say that Bumrah bowled England out and England didn't contribute so much to their own demise?
I think a little bit of both. I think you can always look at yourself. You look at the way Bumrah bowled, he bowled beautifully. Like Darren said, he took the pitch out of the equation when it was right to take the pitch out of the equation. He hit the deck on a good area against Joe Root, and questioned Joe Root in the infancy of his innings. A lot of the times he's vulnerable in and around that off stump, just sort of angling the bat. He executed that plan perfectly. I thought he set up to Besto was excellent. It didn't look much, but he bowled 3 balls of sort of between 5 and 6 metre length just outside off stump, and seen Bairstow push at the ball each time going to backward point. And Bumrah in his mind knowing that, I'll just get this little bit fuller. I don't think your feet are going to come at the ball, and if your hands go out, there's a good chance you're nicking this. And he did. So that is getting England out. That is bowling to a plan and working out how I'm going to get England out. You know, then you look at the one that Stokes got, just roll along a deck, under edge. But when you ask, could England have done more? I'd say yes. And we're going to hear from Zak Crawley. When you get in this country, when you get in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, you get over 50, you have to take responsibility. You have to score big runs. And unfortunately for Zak, he played a nice shot through mid-wicket coming down the ground. And the ball he got out with was the one that started the floodgates to go, because he's come down the wicket, and instead of trying to be in control of what he was doing, he's tried to smash it, lost his shape and hit it up near. And it was a good catch. Don't get me wrong, it was a fantastic catch by Suresh Iyer. But that there, 113 for 1, quickly turned into what, England looking down staring down the barrel of 170 for 6. And that's what happens in this country. If you get in, you've got to cash in. So yes, I agree, Bumrah bowled England out. But without that door open, it wouldn't have been as easy for Jasprit Bumrah.
But Goughy, do we carry on having the conversation again? Harmy makes an absolutely legitimate point, which has been made for many, many decades. But Zak Crawley. He scored 76 off 78 balls. He scored them in glorious and entertaining fashion. He scored his hundreds in the same fashion. So to ask him to responsibility and consistency aren't words that we associate with Zak Crawley, and Brendan McCullum says that's okay.
Well, so let's look at the series so far. They got off to 2 absolute flyers in the first Test match, and it put us back on the front foot in that second innings especially. And in this Test match, they've come out there in that first innings and tried to attack the bowling. They took Bumrah for 16 in and over. But there is a certain part of it where you might have to just assess the game and think, right, this is a big half hour for us now, and we can keep building on this partnership. We are back in it. They know this pitch is going to deteriorate. They know they've got to bat last on it. So the importance of the first innings was there for everyone to see. Anybody who knows anything about cricket, the importance of that first innings is vital. So they had to get at least up somewhere near India to give themselves a chance, and then it becomes a one innings game. Unfortunately, Zak were playing beautifully, got out at that 76 mark, and then, like I said, Bumrah just, he ran through England. Some terrific bowling, some terrific skill. We had all sorts of deliveries, whether it be Yorker, whether it be round the wicket, moving away from the left-hander, whether it one that kept a little low to Ben Stokes, but one wasn't ideal. But it had everything. And the deliveries to Pope and Root. Bairstow's was a poor shot, but to Root and Pope, it was just quality bowling.
Yeah, it sounds as though I'm blaming Zak. I'm not blaming Zak. I thought his innings was fantastic. I thought going into that just after the break, that's as good a balance as I've seen Zak Crawley have at the crease. He was standing tall. He was hitting the ball on the top of the bounce. He's timing the ball perfectly. He really was in good touch, but it comes back to the fact when you're out here, you just take one slip, one slight mistake, one where you just take your sort of eye off the ball, and it just shows that's the concentration levels of playing out in this fine country, that if you do make that little mistake, it can open a door and it can put your team under a little bit of pressure, because at the time, 114 for 2, Crawley goes, you're thinking route to come, Pope's just got 196, Bairstow, Stokes, folks after that. We've got a stellar batting unit. But when you've got something like Jasprit Bumrah and he has a day like he has, then unfortunately you've given them the chance to do that. And I keep saying that about all sports. You look at officials. If you give the officials a decision to make, then there's a chance that it goes against you. You're talking about football. You give a referee a decision to make by a tackle, it goes against you. If you give a chance for a top quality bowling attack, especially one that possesses something like Jasprit Bumrah, you give him a chance to go through you, and that's what he did today.
No, I'm just going to say, man, on that, I think Bumrah was excellent and deserves all the plaudits. And I think Seams come into this game, we've already seen some quality bowling from two high-quality fast bowlers in Jimmy Anderson and Bumrah. Slightly different in the way they go about things, but both high quality. But I think Kuldeep deserves a bit of praise as well, because when you look at the spinners, we know Ashwin, his record is outstanding and he's quality. And once you get a pitch where there's a little bit of bounce, I think he comes into his own. But Ashwin's still got a little bit of thinking to do here on how he's going to get into the heads of these English batters, because they're actually playing him quite well. Now, Kuldeep come in and got a bit more bounce. He had that mystery about him. We know he's got the googly and everything else. He's left-handed as well. And Axar Patel became like almost bowled 4 overs. And I think that's one of the surprising thing in this game so far for me. I think Ben Stokes, again, is trying to do what he did with Hartley in the first test. I think he's over-bowled the off-spinner for the young lad. I know he's trying to get overs under his belt, but I don't think we've seen enough of Hartley in this game. And I just don't want to see him over-bowled, especially if the lead just keeps rising and rising and rising, because at the end of it, he could walk away this game with 350 runs, the way it's going. You know what I mean? It could easily happen.
Sure, Bashir bowled 38 overs in the first innings, his first innings in Test cricket, for a return of 3 for 138, which is a heavy workload. And then he was given the new ball again when India started their second innings at the start of the close of play. My eye has been taken by the fact that Ben Stokes, as we record this podcast, is running around the boundary with the non-players, the substitute players, and some of the administrative management staff. He's doing laps of the ground as we record this.
And that's probably part of his knee rehab program. He bowled 6 balls before the test match started. I would imagine there'll be another 6 balls to be bowled over the course of either tomorrow or the next day, and I would imagine the volume of impact running that he has to do in a week's program will mean that he needs to get it out of the way. So he might be just getting rid of some frustration as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll have a little bit more for you in a moment, but for now, let's hear from Zak Crawley on his 26th birthday. He scored 76 today.
Zak Crawley, close of day 2. Let's get the important stuff out of the way. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate that.
It's a heck of a day to have a birthday on. It was a great day's cricket.
Really good day's cricket. They played really well. We tried to fight back at certain points. We played well in parts, but to be fair to them, they played well all day. So credit's due. Jasprit played an unbelievable knock. Bumrah bowled well, but we're still in the game.
You are still in the game. I don't know whether you like coincidences or quirks. After day 2 in Hyderabad, you're 175 runs behind. After day 2 here, you're 171 runs behind. So as we proved in Hyderabad, that's easy enough to overcome, right?
Well, one thing for sure is we won't get carried away. We won't get phased by the deficit. We're just going to continue playing the same way, and we've proved that well last week. So, we're always in the game. So the way we play our game. So yeah, we're always in it.
Take me through your innings. Really good knock.
Thanks. Yeah, I felt I played some nice shots. It was a very different pitch to Hyderabad. A bit slower, not as much turn, but still a little bit there, and a bit more seam movement. So I was pleased with how I played. Disappointed to get out when it was just starting reversing, but I was pleased with how I played.
What happened with the one you got out on?
It just turned a bit more than I thought. The first 2 he bowled didn't really turn, so I thought I was going to put him under a bit of pressure and get him, not let him settle in, and unfortunately it just turned on me, and it was the way it goes. But I'd have played the same shot again. It's just the way it goes. Sometimes the execution's not there.
A word about Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, it's his 10th fifer, but he sent down some almost unplayable deliveries. I mean, the one that got Ollie Pope. I've seen the replay, I don't know how many, and I've got no idea what you're supposed to do with that.
No, it's an unbelievable ball. He bowled well all day. He's very, very good in these conditions when it's reversing like that. Even with the new ball, he was tricky, but when the ball starts reversing, he's very good. So we'll have to counteract that. But like I say, we played him well in the last game at times as well, and today at times we played him well. So we just got to find ways of doing it for a bit longer.
Generally speaking, the wickets played okay. Obviously, Ben got one that very obviously kept down. There was a couple that went low, and a couple have got up. But generally speaking, it's played okay, hasn't it?
It's played all right, yeah. I mean, both sides like to play their shots, so I think that's where a lot of the dismissals have come from. But yeah, it's a much better wicket than Hyderabad for sure. So we don't mind, as long as it doesn't break up too much, then we feel like we can chase a decent score, which is why we still think we're in the game.
Rohit Sharma didn't seem overly enthused about going out there to bat in this light. I mean, in England, if you didn't play in this light, you'd probably never get on the pitch, but he seemed to be a little bit frustrated about that.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I was like square of the wicket, and I was just trying to catch the ball if it came my way. But yeah, I suppose it is a little bit dark, but it's nowhere near dark enough to come off. So I didn't see him react.
So tomorrow, then, look, obviously, a good first hour really gets you back into this, and day 3, as they always say, is moving day.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one session at a time. That's what we do well. We're where our feet are, and we'll just try and take as many wickets as possible. Be nice and aggressive with the ball, and see where that leaves us at the end of tomorrow. And hopefully, we're batting and going well.
Is it birthday cake tonight, or is that safe for the end of the match?
End of the match? Well, not at all, really. I'm not a big birthday man, so I don't mind if there's none.
Well done. Well played.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Zak Crawley having a chat to Andrew McKenna at the end of the day's play. You can just hear the belief, can't you? I mean, and we, just as the players talk about, Zak Crawley's just a throwaway line there. I mean, you almost didn't hear it in the middle of it. So we can believe we can win this game. And that would have been scoffable. You'd have chuckled at that a few years ago. But, he obviously just so believes it. He doesn't have to make a big thing of it. So, of course, we can win this game. And we can say things, Goughy, as well, that we didn't used to be able to say, because England have done things that have never been done before in Test cricket. And if we say, well, they just bowl them out for 200 and chase 340 in the 4th innings, we can say that without feeling silly now.
Well, we've changed our thought process, haven't we, and how we go about it, because we're now saying this is England. So you never say never, and it is a strange position they're in. I think this is going to be slightly different, purely because they've got to bat last on it. And he did mention there in that interview, Zach, but hopefully they're batting tomorrow night, and I think that's vital in that interview, what he said. There will always be no negative chat in public or in that dressing room, but every player in his head at some point will have a negative thought. Now, going into it tomorrow, they've got to come out, they've got to bowl well, they've got to keep it tight. Jimmy Anderson will have a big day to play, and the spinners have got to cash in. So whether it's Bashir, whether it's Hartley, whether it's Rayan, they've got to take some wickets and support Jimmy Anderson tomorrow.
Chetan Narula, the Indian viewpoint from you. Now, you've said that India didn't know what to expect from Bazball in Hyderabad, and they got Bazballed, and they got poped, and they got pipped at the post. They couldn't make the best of a 190-run lead. Can England do it again, or have India learnt their lessons?
Well, I think India have surely learned their lessons. I mean, obviously, in this test match so far, I think 2 individual performances have carried them. First of all, from Jaiswal, and then obviously from Bumrah. They needed a big bowling performance today. Like Darren Gough agrees with me, India didn't have enough on the board in the first innings, but it doesn't look like that now. Having said that, of course, I think we saw a little more proactive captaincy from Rohit Sharma today. Yes, there was a lot more bounce on offer on this pitch, so reverse sweep didn't really come out. But again, he was a lot more proactive, and a couple of times, I'm not going to say what he said to his fielders, but I can't really say that. But he was coaxing them on and telling them not to slack off in the field. Probably Ashwin didn't listen to him, but I think the rest of them were fielding nicely today, and they were on the money. They were supporting the bowlers, and I think the bowlers were also bowling much better lines. And I think Darren Gough is absolutely right. Kuldeep Yadav was so important, and I think if you remember our pre-series podcast, I was really rooting for Kuldeep Yadav to play this test series, especially from the first test, and that was because of the kind of variations that a left-arm unorthodox spinner can bring, and because of the bounce that he was getting, the sweep didn't really come out for the English batters today.
Steve Harmison, your final thoughts. Been another day of helter-skelter, non-stop, entertaining, compelling, compulsive cricket. You don't know what to expect tomorrow, but go on, have a guess.
England will still believe. England will still believe. We bowled them out for 200 from now. We chase 270. We feel 370. We still believe we can get it. That will be the message Ben has given. Zak more or less just said that in there. I think the difference between Hyderabad and this game is England got it in the 3rd innings, not the 4th innings. From a pitch point of view, I think this pitch will be better to bat on than what Hyderabad was in the 3rd innings. But I think the 4th innings, the pressure of the game, that might be a bit more of a challenge. But while you've got Jimmy Anderson to take the new ball first thing tomorrow morning, I still think England stand a chance of staying in the game. I think if India go the first hour without taking a wicket, Jaiswal gets in and gets going. I think slowly but surely the victory will probably be the Indians, and we'll have to wait in Rajkot for what would be 1-1 in the series.
I think that's right. I think to have any chance whatsoever, and I'm only saying this because it's England and the way they've played over the last 18 months, is they've got to dismiss them for under 200, and it gives some hope to us. And that same thing, England will believe they can win if they're chasing 420, but realistically, batting last, I think to have any chance, surely whatsoever, they have to dismiss India for under 200.
Thank you very much indeed, Darren Gough. Steve Harmison, as I said, absolutely compelling day, and we expect nothing less on the third day and the fourth, and however long this test match goes. So that's the way it finished, with India closing on 28 without loss in their second innings, leading by 171 runs overall. England were bowled out for 253 in reply to India's 396, with Zak Crawley making 76. Early wickets required by England on the third morning, and a good solid start for India to lay the base for what they hope will be an impregnable target for England in the fourth innings. Thank you very much indeed for your company on the Following On podcast. Thanks for joining us, if you did, during the Ball by Ball live and exclusive throughout the 5 Test match series here on talkSPORT 2. And we look forward to more of the same. Sleep well, talk tomorrow.